Alright, today I've got another simple yet highly important lesson I've picked out, so pay attention. Alright, talking about worst case scenario, best case scenario. The word scenario, some people pronounce it scenario. I think that sounds stupid, so let's get into scenario. Scenario is kind of a situation. It's very similar to that word. So the best case scenario basically means what is the best possible outcome? What is the best thing that could happen? That's what you're talking about. And the worst case scenario is what is the worst thing that could happen in this particular situation we're talking about. And we always use scenario with that. We don't say best case situation, worst case situation. Sometimes we shorten it, sometimes, to best case and worst case. What's the best case? What's the worst case? But the full thing, and we often say the full one, is what's the best case scenario and what is the worst case scenario. And you usually want to know both. And I'm trying to think of some really good examples here to know. Like, let's say if you're sick, okay, and you go to the doctor and you ask the doctor, you say, okay, I'm sick, doctor, what's wrong with me? And the doctor says, well, we're doing some tests. We don't know exactly yet. And you say, yeah, but you're a smart guy, or you're a smart woman, whatever the doctor is. What do you think, what's the range? What do you think is going to happen? What's the best case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? So let's say I hurt my arm, okay? And it hurts, and they just taken an x-ray of it, they're looking at the photos, and that we don't know yet, we're waiting. And I say, what's the best case, what's the worst case scenario? Now he could say, well, the best case scenario is your arm is not broken, and it's just gonna hurt for a few days, and then you'll be fine, and then you can, I don't know, then you'll just be fine. Like, no big deal. That's the best case scenario. That's the best thing that could happen in your situation. And the worst case scenario would be your arm is broken, we got to put a cast on it, and you're going to need surgery maybe, and you're not going to be able to do anything with your arm for 6 months. That's the worst case scenario in that example. Or let's say that you're working in a company, right? And your boss says, let's say you go to your boss and you say, look, I've got an idea for marketing, for advertising. I want to spend $10,000 on buying advertisements on this TV channel. And the boss could say, okay, well, let's think about that. $10,000 isn't cheap, so we want to think about that a little bit. So what do you think the best case scenario is if you spend the $10,000 on advertising? And I could say, well, realistically, I think the best case scenario is, people love the advertisement, okay? And people are writing about it on the internet. They go to the stores, they're buying stuff like crazy. And I could say, I think the best case scenario, realistically, and that's another good one. We often talk about the realistic best case scenario. So realistically, the best case scenario is, I don't know, maybe we get $200,000 in sales from this one commercial. And the worst case scenario, I guess, realistically, is nobody really paid attention to the commercial. They didn't like it. And we got $1,000 in sales and we lost $9,000. So, of course, in these situations, you don't always know the best and worst case scenarios, but you have to guess and make your best guess, an educated guess to what you think the best realistic thing that could happen in the worst. And then something, it's either going to be this, or somewhere in the middle of the best and worst case scenario. So when you hear someone ask for that, what's the best possible outcome realistically? And what is the worst possible outcome realistically? And if you know those two ends, it helps you make a decision, helps you understand what's going on. So check out the website, learnenglish232.com for more info on this.